Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Circle the one that is appropriate for you. Welcome to another edition of Let's Make a Stream Game. No, I mean a jam game on stream. Yeah. So if you were here yesterday or you've checked out the previous VOD, you may know that I am working on a 3D-ish game in Construct 3 that is going to be an action game with slight RTS elements like building stuff and gathering resources. And I'm doing this because I've partaken in the monthly game jam that is Hely or Havi egy játék in Hungarian, which literally translates to one game a month. It's a small community jam where you get a choice of three themes that you need to incorporate in your game, and you also have an additional optional modifier that you can use. And without much further ado, we have chosen the theme Voronoi. So we're going to have a game that has some Voronoi diagrams in it. And we are also using the modifier only 3D. And we are a team of three. Usually I work with my good friend Tibor, who is doing usually the art just in general in our games. He's mostly a 2D artist, but also has some 3D skills. However, because we met someone on the Jam Discord, we actually now have a 3D artist who is about to drop some models. But right now, I am only using some temporary placeholder stuff. So let me just show you how the game looks at the moment. Right now, it looks like this. So you control this little drone ship that hovers above the not so flat ground on a barren planet or something. There are some aliens who right now just walk around and do nothing, but they will of course try to attack you, or not you, but the buildings that you placed, because you will be able to place buildings. And this is just the mechanic that I was working on yesterday, and it's still very wonky. So let me just show how it looks. Right now I press a button and a building just sprouts out of the ground after you place a little spawner sprite. This is, of course, completely not the way it's going to look, but right now it's a basic implementation. You can actually place some buildings, and the plan is to enhance this part of the game on this stream. I'm going to bring up the to-do list in a moment, but I'm also going to show you the other features which are already in the game. You can beam up these oil barrels and you can drop them off in positions that are not occluded by stuff like this. And the main goal of the game will be to gather oil, to extract it from the ground by building probes which will tell you where the oil spots are. And spoiler alert, the oil spots will be essentially the Voronoi diagram cells. So you will have to find out which cell contains the most oil and try to go there and build some oil rigs. In the background you can maybe see or hear my cat, who is crunching on some treats right now. I figured that she might like it if I place the view on the chair where she's usually sitting while I'm working on stuff. So yeah, she is going to be on stream as well today, probably. Okay, so yeah, this is where the game is at the moment. There's a minimap and not much else. You can also land and shoot, but right now this mechanic is broken. And this is because there's a spawner sprite below the player. So if I press the landing button, nothing happens because this little X symbol marks that it's not possible to land. So I'm going to start by fixing this bug, which I planted yesterday. Not intentionally, of course, but yeah, I just noticed it today. So you will be able to see that the drone ship that you control is also able to shoot enemies. And I was also talking about the to-do list, so let me just pull that up quickly. So what's planned for today is mostly the building mechanic and fleshing it out. Right now it is possible to place plans, or just one plan, this satellite-ish looking thing, which is just a temporary asset from one of the Kenny space packs. And also there's like a little timer when you place a plan. It just waits for a second and then the building actually appears on top. And this will need to be a little more nuanced, because I want the player to be able to place plans, and the lore part of it is that a big freaking mothership or something will see that, okay, you place the plan there, so they will transport the materials to the building or the whole building in one, and essentially teleport it to your marked position, and this will take some time. So when you place a building plan, like a blueprint or something, you will of course have to pay the resources needed for it, but you can change your mind if the building is not teleported there right away, and you can cancel these plans. And if you don't cancel it, then the building will at one point appear, and I'm guessing that maybe it should have some sort of effect, either some kind of glowy teleportation stuff, or there's also a possibility that it might look funny if the building just fell from the skies and just, you know, plunked down where you place the plan. We'll see. I don't know which one we'll go with, but yeah, I'm going to do one of them at first, definitely. And also buildings will need to have some minimap markers, because right now I think they don't have this at all. And there's also a possibility, which may or may not get into the first version, that you could sell or salvage buildings. We'll see. And the buildings that you can place are probes, which will start working right away after they are built, and tell you at one point how big are the cells that are nearby them and how much oil is in the cell that you have placed the probe in. And this is mostly it. There's an idea that maybe if you hover over a probe, then it should show the cell borders on in the world as well, not just the minimap, but I don't know, we'll see. Another important building is the oil rig, which will of course start extracting oil once it's built, and it will produce barrels right next to it. So these barrels will just, I think, appear out of thin air, and you will be able to pick these up, and you will be able to drop these barrels off at a drop zone next to some base, which is also coming soon, TM. So a oil barrel drop-off zone is also something that needs to be in the game, but this is not something that you build. This will be just right there when you start the level. So yeah. And also we may or may not add some defensive turrets as a building option, so you can you don't have to worry about too much about these aliens who will come attacking your buildings, because you don't have to be there necessarily. The defensive turrets may be able to take care of them. That's yeah, that's one way to say that they're going to murder these aliens. And yeah, this is it. This is the plan for today. I will be quite happy if I manage to do a few items from this to-do list, but hopefully, I don't know, if I'm on a roll and I don't encounter any big issues, and usually the issues are related to my brain, I might be able to do some of the probe stuff as well. So I am going to get started and stop yapping, but first I'm going to hydrate. Right. We are listening to the Borderlands soundtrack, by the way, for now. I might change it later, but I figured that this kind of goes well with the environment. It's a barren planet, so yeah. Okay, so at first I want to fix this issue that right now doesn't allow the player to land. And this happens because the player checks if the landing spot is actually clear. And this part happens in this toggle mode custom action. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention, but I'm using construct 3, or maybe I did, I don't know. So yeah, this is construct, and I'm not really using any JavaScript, only a little bit of it, because the Voronoi diagram generation is done by the famous D3 library, which I just downloaded from the interwebs, and I wrote a little glue script that utilizes it to generate at random a Voronoi diagram, and then transport the data into a JSON object, which resides right here. So when the game is started, this little piece of code is called, the Voronoi diagram is generated, and the cell borders and the midpoints, or I don't remember what they were called, but essentially the points that you see in the map marked with these numbers, which will not appear, of course, in the world later, but right now for debugging purposes I'm going to keep them in the game. So these points and the actual positions of the cell borders are stored in this JSON object, and then the game reads this and spawns the borders on the minimap and also on the world as well right now. So yeah, but apart from this bit of JavaScript, I'm just using the built-in event system in Construct, and I am also utilizing some third-party add-ons because Construct does not support 3D models out of the box, and this is totally fine, by the way. So Kind Eye Games, or also known as Mikal, was kind enough to write up a great add-on called 3D Object, and so this allows me to import some proper 3D objects models in GLB or GLTF format. So this is how the game works, and I'm also using another add-on by Mikal, which is responsible for these little shadows around the 3D models and on the terrain as well. The terrain is just a big, I think, tiled background, and there's a mesh on it, which is quite a high resolution mesh. And at the beginning of the game, the mesh is assigned essentially a height map, and for this I'm using the stock advanced random add-on, or not add-on, plugin in Construct. So as you can see, if I restart the game, the terrain changes, so it's not always the same, how is it called? So it's not always the same slopes and stuff, but it is completely random. I'm using, I think, the ridged noise model, and also the Voronoi diagram is randomized as well, so all the cells are in a different layout. And this is about it. So okay. Oh yeah, I mentioned the shadows. Yeah, the shadows are utilizing the SSAO ambient occlusion effect, also by Kind Eye Games or Mikal. So yeah, this is where we are, and I am going to get back to the part which is responsible for starting the landing sequence, so to speak. So when the player presses the X button on the keyboard or the gamepad, this toggle mode custom action is called, and this will just check if the player's current elevation is in the air or on the ground. And if it's in the air, then it will start the landing sequence. If it's on the ground, it will start the takeoff sequence, which will take some time. There's a tween as the ship is moving on the Z-axis and some other stuff. But first, it checks a few things. And one of these things that it checks is actually in a different part of the code, because when the player is flying and the toggle mode custom action is called, two things happen. At first, I'm checking if the little helper sprite that is actually showing up in the game on the ground is showing this ground clear animation or not. Let me just pull up this sprite. So, sorry, this sprite is just moving along with the ship, the player, and it has two animations, the ground blocked or the ground clear animations. And there's a different part of the code which I'm going to find momentarily, which switches between these two animations depending whether the ground is clear below the player or not. And the other thing that I'm checking is that the player has no cargo at the moment. So if the player has any barrels right at the moment the landing is requested, then it will be just denied, because we don't want the player to land while carrying barrels. So yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just to show you how I usually locate stuff in Construct. So player telegraph is the sprite that has the two animations, as I mentioned, and there are some logic right here. There is some logic right here. So this is where the player is actually ticking. This runs every tick. Most objects in the game have these custom actions called tick. This is how I do things. And the player has one as well, which just runs at every tick. It's called right here. And one of the things that the tick custom action takes care of is updating the animation on this player telegraph object. So if it's overlapping a spawner, then it's definitely going to switch to the blocked version, or if it's overlapping an enemy, or if it's overlapping cargo that is on the ground. Otherwise, it's going to show the ground clear animation. Now, the issue is that the player is always overlapping the spawner at this moment, because the way I implemented stuff yesterday is that I'm actually attaching a spawner right below the player, but this is not a spawner that should be considered. So I'm guessing that I just need to do something like an extra check right here, whether the spawner is an auto spawner or not. Because this is an instance variable I also introduced yesterday, so all the spawners that are on the layer, the layout initially, have this isAutoSpawner variable set to 1, which just means that they should all already spawn the building or whatever, not just the building, but the enemy or player or decoration that they are assigned to. So I think if I just add another condition right here that checks the variable, of the spawner, isAutoSpawner yes. So I only want to care about the spawners that have the isAutoSpawner variable set to yes, because these are actual obstacles, and the spawner that is showing up right now is not one. So if I hover over this, for example, you can see the little X animation, and if I move right here now, I can actually probably land at this point. Oh yeah, this is how it looks at the moment. So I can just press X and it will start the landing. I will need to take care of some other stuff like hiding the spawner when this happens, but yeah, this is also coming soon. But right now I can land. This is something. And if I press E, then the building will show up, and now I can't land this in this same position. So if I just build something here, now I can't land in it because the spawner is actually still there, I think, or maybe it's not, but yeah, no, it is. It is because the spawners are actually objects that have physics behavior, so enemies cannot go through them, and also they are staying on the ground and blocking the player from landing. So this is how it works. Okay. So this is almost all right. Now I just need to take care of hiding the spawner. And I think this happens somewhere here, because this is the part where I used to toggle the visibility of the player telegraph as well, but I don't toggle it, I actually tween it, which is a little better, I guess. But for now, I'm not going to bother with the tween. I'm just going to say I want to pick the spawner that is attached to the player and hide it. So player, pick children, spawner set visible, and this is the landing sequence. So in this case, I want it to set invisible. I'm just going to copy this, paste a little sub event, exactly the same, but in this case I want the spawner to be visible once the takeoff starts. Or maybe it should only be visible when the takeoff ends, we'll see. So right now if I press X, the little spawner sprite disappears, and it appears right away when I start the takeoff sequence. What I want to try is, what if I press a building button right away? It definitely works, which is not bad, I guess, but I don't know. Okay, this is all right, I guess, but I would prefer if the spawner only showed up when the takeoff has finished. So I'm just going to copy this part right here. So I press X now, the spawner should disappear immediately. That's correct. And now if I press X again, the spawner only appears after the takeoff has finished and the player is in the designated flying elevation or something. Okay, this is a little wonky, but these are due to the collision polygons. Okay. I can't land here, but I can land here. Okay. There's some Z fighting going on with the little sprite, but this is fine as well. Also, I probably don't want the sprite that shows whether the ground is clear for landing to be visible at the same time the building sprite is visible. So I'm just going to leave it as is for now, but one of the items on my to-do list is to actually facilitate the player to be able to select plans, because there's going to be more than one building plan. There's going to be a probe and an oil rig at minimum, and hopefully a defensive turret as well. So the player needs to, I don't know, press some buttons to switch between these blueprints, and also to go back to non-building mode, I guess. Yeah, I haven't really thought this through, but we'll see how it works. Okay, so selecting plans, I think I'm going to go with that, as I just mentioned why it's important. So I want the player to be able to select between a couple plans, and to do that I will actually need to add some more spawner animations. One of the animations is the probe, but I will also need to add the oil rig at minimum. So I am going to create an object that spawns the oil rig, or not an object, but an actual 3D model that is the temporary asset for the oil rig, which will replace at one point. But yeah, and I also need to add this to the spawner, so it's working. Okay, so let's look for something that resembles kind of like a tower or something. I mean, these are not bad, I think. These are just chimneys. For temporary asset, I'm not going to spend too much time selecting the perfect one because they are temporary, so why would I? Okay, this is not so good. I don't know, I could go with something like that, but no, I think I'm going to go with the little tower stuff. And I'm also contemplating doing the same stuff with the turret as well, but maybe later. Okay, so chimney. There's this one and this one. Okay, let's go with the more detailed one, which has this little texture on it. And just like yesterday, I'm going to find the model in the Canny asset pack. I'm going to import it to Blender, and I'm going to set its origin correctly, because for some reason it's not in the middle, but this is fine. It's an easy job to accomplish, which is good because I know nothing about Blender anyway. So okay, I'm just going to look for the chimney.glb file right here, and I need the detailed one. And yeah, I didn't do the drag and drop stuff yesterday because it was doing something else. So I'm just going to say import and gltf, and I'm going to select this folder, open the chimney, and as you can see, the location is off by 2 meters, whatever that means. So I'm just going to clear the X and Y positions to and set it to 0. So now it's better. However, sorry, this is not the chimney I was looking for, is it? It's not the detailed one. Chimney detailed. Okay, this is the correct one. This has the little texture. Okay, so this is going to be our oil rig at the moment. Okay, I set the location of the origin, and I'm going to export it. I'm just going to call it rig. And to do the import, I just go to construct, say under files, import files, and just drag the rig.glb that I just saved from Blender right here. Okay, so on my object templates layout, this is where I store a single instance of everything. So this is, for example, where the probe 3D model lives, and there's also a probe sprite. So yeah. And right now, probes are also cargo, which I don't think I'm going to use anymore, because this means that I can build a probe and then I can pick it up. Oh, sorry, I shifted the, yeah. So right now I can transport probes, and I don't really want that to happen. So I think I'm just going to remove the probe from the cargo family. I hope that this is not going to screw up anything. So just to be safe, I'm going to look for usages of the probe object, and there are actually no, so the probe is not mentioned in the code at all, not anywhere. So yeah, I think if I just remove this, then this could work. However, it will introduce a couple of problems because probe does have the physics behavior assigned to it because it's a member of the cargo family. So right now it's not passable by the enemies. For example, it has a circular collision mask, essentially the mask of this little sprite I'm talking about. So I will need to create a new family and add all the buildings in there. So I am going to add the probe, and I'm also going to add the new rig object later, or maybe right now. I'm just going to create one, or I guess I could just clone this one and rename it to rig. I'm going to edit the color just so I can differentiate between the objects in the event sheet, because it shows the icons. So right now this is fine, and I'm also going to add a new 3D object. This is the third-party add-on that I'm using, and I'm going to find rig.glb, and the file name should go right here. So this is good. I'm going to scale it up a little, and also the models need to be rotated a little. So right now in the probe model, you can see that the angle X is set to -90, and the angle Z is also set to different numbers. So right now the 0 should be -90 right here. So now it's facing the correct way. It looks like this. I think I'm going to increase the size a little, like this. This is fine, or maybe just, I don't know, 80 or something. And yeah, it doesn't matter the other angle. This one is for the rotation that is similar to the angle in construct. So yeah, the axis that is perpendicular to the XY plane. Okay, so I'm just going to create a hierarchy between these two objects, and I'm going to synchronize the X and Y positions and nothing more, because this is the way I set it up right here as well. So X, Y, and Z elevation, oh, sorry, yeah, Z elevation is also synchronized, although it doesn't have to be, because the building's Z elevations shouldn't really change, I think. But yeah, maybe it should, because when I'm placing stuff and because the ground is not even, I'm not sure if I'm already doing that, but I should probably look for the nearest mesh distortion point when I'm placing a building and make sure that it's roughly at the right Z elevation. But I'm not doing that right away. So okay, I'm just going to check this and center it to the parent object, that is the rig. I'm also going to rename this object to rig 3D, because this is the convention that I chose. So for example, there's barrel and barrel body 3D, enemy and enemy body 3D. Player has player projectile 3D, and although this is not a child, but yeah, and player ship 3D is the 3D model. So probe 3D should really be probe body 3D, if that makes sense. And rig 3D should be rig body 3D, I guess. I don't think that the rig should have a moving part, but or the probe, But the turret, for example, will have to have two 3D objects assigned to it in a family, because the turret should have like a gun part that can rotate and face the enemies, and a separate 3D model that is just a statically positioned one that will just stay at the same position that the player have dropped it in, and it shouldn't move around. I mean, it shouldn't rotate. So yeah. Okay, this is fine, I think. So I'm going to remove the probe and the rig from the cargo family. So now only the barrel is the cargo, but we may or may not add some other transportable goods as well. And if we do, then I just need to add them to the cargo family so they can be picked up by the ship. But I'm also going to modify this new family, which I forgot to name. I'm going to name them buildings, or just building. Should it be in the plural form? Also, there's a typo. Okay, so just building is fine, I think. Hey there, Ranger. What is up? Thank you for popping in. Welcome in. I hope you're having a good Saturday morning, I think. I'm super bad with time zones. I am doing pretty well, pretty good, I guess. Hope you are too. By the way, I haven't really seen you stream in the last week or so. Have you moved to some different schedule, or did you just slack off a little, so to speak, and skip a few streams? Morning is correct, that's good. Just chilling and drinking coffee. Go for it. I already had one, and I will probably need to add another coffee to my face in an hour or something. But right now I am full of energy, so. Because I did see you stream, like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago in a very late hour for me anyway, like at 2 a.m. In the morning. And I think Goob was also streaming at that moment, but he also usually does that time frame, which is not good because I can't really join their stream either. It's quite late or early for me, depending, but yeah, so past midnight for me. I streamed Wednesday and reworking the schedule. Right. Work has made doing evenings a bit difficult, so trying to work out a good balance. It's not easy balancing work and streaming as a hobby. Yeah. I still don't have a schedule, for example, so I'm way in a worst position. But I'm trying to. Right now I'm just trying to do a regular stream, as in at least one every week or something. And if that happens, then I will need to really just set out a schedule and keep it, because I kind of envy the nerds in this regard, because they are right on the freaking time always. So yeah, and I should really do that too, because I heard somewhere that consistency is the key of this whole game dev and streaming thing, so yeah. I'm gonna need to jump over a couple of hoops to achieve that though. Yeah, it's hard for sure, indeed. And all the holidays are making it harder, definitely, yeah. Yeah. The consistent one is Sundays, Okay. I'm actually going to check your schedule after my stream, I think, and maybe make some calendar appointments. So I try to pop in the next time you are online. Right, where was I? Okay, I was adding this little building stuff. Okay, good. I need to add physics because the cargo does have physics. And I'm just going to copy the whole thing from here, although I can't copy it per se, but I can add the behavior to the building family and just make it immovable. Use the circular collision polygon, and the friction and elasticity should be 0. So now it should behave exactly like the barrel. Okay, the rig has the correct. Okay, it doesn't have the correct hitbox, but since we are setting the collision polygon or collision mask right here, it doesn't really matter that the drone hitbox is a square. So yeah, haven't updated it yet, but Sundays are 1 p.m. EST to whenever. Yeah, okay, EST is something that I will need to look up, but yeah, this is your time zone. So if you have, I don't know, I mean, if you are still drinking your morning coffee, that this means that we should be off by at least, I don't know, 8 hours, maybe 6. I don't know. I'm just going to check it out. Eastern Standard Time, I guess, EST. It's 8:42. Okay, so yeah, for me it's 2 p.m. I mean, yeah, and the same minutes, of course. Almost 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. Okay, right. Let me just check if the building is actually working. Okay, seemingly the enemy cannot go through it, which is a relief, because this means that the physics behavior is doing its thing and keeping the enemy off. So yeah, this should be working. Now, what I need to do is to make a little temporary sprite for this rig object. And in the past, I did the following excellent hack. I just set the projection to orthographic. Okay, this is literally going to be a circle from an orthographic view, so whatever. And I'm just going to disable the collision polygons. Yeah. I mean, I could just draw a circle in this case. I don't need to take a screenshot and copy it, so right, that should go back to perspective, and I'm just going to edit the spawner object. So right now we have a probe, and I'm just going to duplicate this, I think, and just throw a freaking circle. And the animation should be named rig, and it should match the object that is called rig, so it should be the same name. Right, let me just look for a kind of similar color. We're gonna need the fill. Okay, so this is fine mostly. I'm just going to draw a circle and be done with it. Good. Right. So similar shape, but the size is probably off. But the way that this stuff looks is definitely temporary, so I'm not going to bother about this. Yeah. Okay. This is all right. So this is the spawner instance that gets spawned with the player. So right now I can just switch it to rig and test it out. What project am I working on? Okay, so this is a project that I'm doing for another jam. Shocker. I'm always making jam games, but this is the thing I enjoy the most, so yeah. And this is just the same jam series that I've been doing for 11 months now. It's called Havi egy játék in Hungarian, and it literally translates to 1 game a month. And as you may have guessed it, it's a 1 game a month type of jam. So you get 3 themes that you can choose from and an optional modifier. And you have a month to make something, but we've never so far used the whole month, only the I don't know, like a week or 2 weeks maybe tops. And in this case, this is more of the 2-week interval, because I've started building this like a week ago, and not a week ago, but something like a week ago, a little less. And the deadline is in 11 days, if I remember correctly. Okay, so we can now build these temporary oil rigs, which just look like chimneys, but this is fine. So these rigs should just start producing the oil barrels and have some feedback. Okay, we have another issue. The player cannot cross these, which could be fine, because essentially these are big freaking buildings, but I'm pretty sure that the player is still hovering above them. But the other issue that I'm definitely going to need to tackle is that right now, if I switch the default building to the other one, this I also cannot hover above, which is ridiculous, because I could totally do that. by the look of it. Not to mention, if I stay right after I spawn something, okay, there's the sassiness. So yeah, I need to update some collision logic, some filtering stuff. So this is where I set up the player's collision filters. I just need to do something like player collisions, enable disable collisions, and say that buildings should not collide with the player. And I will just make sure that all the buildings are not so high that the player shouldn't be able to go above them. Since Construct is still a 2D engine, we don't have 3D collisions at all, so I need to take care of this aspect. Yeah, it's a little high. It's definitely occluding the player, so I'm just going to change the scale of the model to something that is a bit smaller. I have no idea how the actual oil rig is going to look. Our 3D artist is working on it, so hopefully she'll send me some models today or tomorrow, and we'll see how they look, but I'm guessing that it shouldn't be something that is super high. Yeah, it is quite nice, but yeah, okay, so yeah, sorry, I was I was distracted by my own code. I did the reverse beaks. Okay, so yeah, the game is actually an action RTS. You will need to pick up these oil barrels, which will be produced by the oil rigs, and for now we only have this chimney looking stuff, but yeah, this is going to actually be an oil rig which will produce the barrels. The barrels will just appear next to the oil rig or something at certain intervals, and you will have a drop-off point where you need to transport these barrels. You can drop them off, you can pick up multiple ones. I think right now the maximum is 5, but this will be something that can be upgraded later in the game, so at the beginning you will probably be able to pick up 1 or 2 or something. But yeah, so once you drop off the oil barrels at the drop-off zone, they will get converted into resources, and then you can use the resources to build stuff. And yeah, and the theme of the gem that we chose is Voronoi, and you might be familiar with it. It's some math magic that essentially makes these little cells around the map that are connected. And these are called the Voronoi diagrams, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm using an external JavaScript library to generate the whole Voronoi diagram. And these cells will act as like oil wells. I'm probably not using the correct term, but so when you before you place a oil rig, you need to place some probes that will just do the whole drilling and mapping of the world, and tell you how big are the oil deposit. Yeah, I think this was the words I was looking for. So how big is the oil deposit, which is essentially the same size as the Voronoi cell, and how much oil is in it. And if you consider it a good amount, then you can build an oil rig and start extracting stuff. And yeah, these little pesky aliens who are right now just walking around and following the player ship, they will be a nuisance because they are going to attack the buildings and eat your barrels or something, and you will be able to shoot and kill them, which is kind of in the game at the moment, but as you can see, it looks like crap. So yeah, this is super preliminary stuff which will need to be replaced. And the plan is to also allow the player to build some defensive turrets, so there's another way to kill the little alien dudes, and not just so it's not necessarily your task to do it. So yeah, did the same thing, yeah. But this is just how it goes. Right, okay, so the item I'm working on at the moment is the selecting plans bit, because right now there are 2 plans that can be selected. I mean, they cannot be selected at the moment, but they should be. But yeah, I just need to figure out a way to allow the player to switch between the probe and the oil rig spawner. So how do I do that? I definitely need to make a function that will switch between the plans. I also need to keep a list of all the available buildings, and I may or may not want to update them at one point. but the first version will definitely just have 2 or 3 buildings and that's it, and all of them will be available in the beginning if you have the resources to build them. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with the super easy way of storing the list of buildings in a string with some separation, and that's it. I mean, I could do an array, but it's 3 things that you can that you need to switch from, so I don't think it's warranted at this point. Also, the properties of the buildings, how much oil they will gather at which interval and stuff like this, I don't think I want to store them in an array or something, not at the moment anyway. I could just store them on the objects as well in instance variables, so I think this is fine for now, and I may regret this decision, but yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to create a constant, I think, and store the names of the buildings that can be selected for placement. And yeah, so I'm going to say buildings CSV just to signify that this is actually a comma separated value list. It's going to be a string, it's going to be a constant, and right now it's rig, and the other one was, no, sorry, let's go in the other direction. So the first one was probe and the other one is rig. And if we manage to put in the defensive turret, then I'll just add it to the list. Okay, so buildings, boom. And what I need to do is to have some sort of UI that the player can use to select the building. Now, how do I want to do that? Am I planning on having different types of aliens? It would be really cool if I manage to do that. This will also depend on how our 3D artist is doing, because right now all the models, as you can see, are temporary ones, and I'm still waiting for the first few models that I could add to the game. But this alien character is actually by our 3D artist, but this was something that she made before, but she have not used it in any game yet. So this was our lucky break, I guess, because we definitely can use these little alien dudes. I really like the way they're looking at the camera, because they're just funny. Maybe a little too funny, I don't know. I don't like murdering funny things, but yeah, we'll see. So yeah, hopefully she'll be able to add some variety to our alien enemy list, but I have no idea how much time she'll have next week, so we'll find out, I guess. It is a really cool model. Putting the stats on the buildings isn't a bad idea. It makes it easier if you decide to do an upgrade system. Yeah, totally. That way you can just upgrade the building and its stats locally instead of iterating through an array. Yeah, this is totally a good point. Although I'm not going to add too many buildings anyway, so I don't think it would be a chore if I did the array route anyway, but I just, I don't know. I'm a little bit old school this way, so I don't mind using comma separated value strings sometimes. Okay, so I'm just thinking about the user interface of this whole building thing. So for one thing, I can definitely do just the current version, which is that I'm showing essentially the a flat representation of the building below the player, and if I just press the button, then it should switch to the other one. I really need to do something about the Z fighting anyway. Okay, so for now I'm just going to allow the player to switch back and forth between the options, and it should just update the little 2D representation of the building on the ground, so the player can see how it would look or how much space it would take up. Okay, because right now if I just press E, then the building will just spawn there. So yeah, the size is a little off, but I'll fix that later. I fix that once I have the actual models, because there's not really a point in fixing the temporary ones. Okay, let's just add some input handling. Right now there's this. If I press E on the keyboard or the button Y on an Xbox gamepad, then the building stuff is happening. So similarly, I'm going to just copy the whole thing and say that Q, I don't know if I used Q before, but I'm going to do that. Or, I don't know, I'm running out of the colorful buttons on the gamepad. So maybe I should use the left and right buttons, I don't know. For now, this will do. I might change it later. Okay, left shoulder button. And why not use the right one as well? The question is, do I want two buttons? So there's a previous next type of input, or I just want one and it will just switch to the next one, and the last one, it should switch to the first one. I think, yeah, I'm just going to keep the right shoulder one, and I'm going to say that go to the next building plan. Right, I'm going to create a custom action, which is fancy for function in construct. There are also functions, but functions are just global functions, and custom actions are always related to an object family or an object type. So on the player object family, I'm going to create one called next building plan or something. I might rename that later, which is also quite easy to do in construct. You just change the name and that's it. It automatically refactors. So, okay, so Q should be the trigger for this new custom action. Right, and next building plan should take care of the switching stuff. So there's the constant that I created, which has right now two items, probe and rig. So at first I need to get the current one and go to the next one. Right. I'm going to use these token at and token something expressions that are in construct. So okay. Next building should be a string, and I'm going to set its value. Okay, so token add and token count, right. So token add takes a string that is the source. Do I need to do a for loop? Maybe. Okay, I'm considering arrays anyway. I kind of remember that there's an expression that I can use to determine the position of a token in a string, but this is not the case. Although I vaguely remember something, I think, landing in the beta branch that does that. Whatever. Okay, I'm just going to do a for loop for now. So it should start from the beginning, and it should go up to token count in the building CSV string. The separator was a comma, and it shouldn't go up to that, only just one below it. And I'm going to introduce another local variable called current building. Oops. And it should be a number, because I just want to store the token ID of that. So okay, I need to add a condition that checks something compared to variables token at. So in the CSV string, I'm going to use the loop index and also the same separator. This I think I might want to put in maybe a global constant, but now I'm not going to do that. So if this is the correct one, and for this I need to get the animation name of the player's spawner object. Spawner animation name. And I also need to pick the spawner as well. So player pick child or children and spawner. Okay, so if I find the current building's name in the CSV file, I'll just store the current value, I mean the current token ID in the current building variable. So set value, current building, and loop index. So this should give me a number of the current building's ID in this string, in this tokenized stuff. Right, and I need another check to see if it's the last one, because if it is the last one, then I need to go back to the first one, and otherwise I just need to add one to the I mean set this to one above the current one. So if current building equals to, I'm going to rename this to current building ID in a moment, if it equals to once again the whole token count stuff -1, then this means that I need to set value of next building to 0, and otherwise I just need to set it to whatever is current building, +1, I guess. This is not the cleanest code I've ever written, but hopefully it's going to work. So I'm going to rename the variables. Current building ID and next building ID should do. And after this whole thing happens, I just need to set the spawner's animation name to the one that is the correct name of the building, which should be something like spawner set animation and token at next building ID, comma separation. What did I screw up? Oh crap, yeah. Please hold. This is a freaking string, not good. Okay. I can't really change it anymore because I already referenced it, so I'm just going to create a new one, next building, which should be a number. Next building ID, I mean. Okay. So I should use this. Good. And spawner set animation and this. Hopefully. Hey there, Flavius, good to see you. Have no fear, I just woke up now and you are here. That's good. Reassuring, thank you for joining. I'm doing fine, thank you so much. How are you? Did you also had a little afternoon nap or something? Because I kinda had, but I figured that I should do a little stream before the nerds and get some stuff done. I'm working on the same game as I was working on yesterday when you were here, and I'm fiddling with the building mechanics and making the player to be able to select different building plans to place. So, okay, I am going to check this at this particular moment. So if I press Q, the game is actually, yeah, there's this sussiness, but I kind of remember that I used Q for something. Yeah, I just use it for some testing crap. It should be right here. Yeah, boom. I just I was testing some trickiness with the 3D models. So yeah, if I now press Q, I can switch between the building plans, and right now there are only 2, so it's not really a next forward type of deal, but just the show me the other one type of deal. So okay, I can definitely build both buildings if I select the correct one and press E. That's good. Just for good measure, I'm going to check the gamepad input as well. So I am going to press this button to switch between the plans, and press X if I remember correctly. No, maybe Y. Okay, yeah, Y was the one that I assigned to the building stuff. Okay, this is good. Woke up too early this morning, so got tired. Yeah, this happens to me all the freaking time. Sometimes there's like a little noise in the middle of the night and I cannot manage to go back to sleep, and this happens. Yeah, I can relate. Okay, so although it's not great, I'm going to check selecting plans, because we can now select plans definitely. And I'm going to move on to the next item, which is placing plans, which is kind of working right now, but there is no resource. It's not that I don't even have the resource variables or nothing, so I need to whip up some quick resource system, because the player will be able to extract different types of oil from the ground. That's the plan anyway, and these should be the resources that are for building stuff, I guess. This one is not really fleshed out, this part, so we'll see. But we definitely need at least one resource and probably a couple more. So I'm just going to create some global variables. I could count the resources on the player object as well, but I just prefer it to be on a global variable, because it's not necessarily related to the player. And also I have this weird habit of trying to make essentially almost every freaking game I make in a way that it would be fairly easy to convert it to local multiplayer. So right now, I think I would need probably like an hour to convert this current state of the project to local multiplayer by adding 2, 3, maybe 4 players that can be controlled separately. So yeah, because of this reason, I don't want the player object to store the amount of extracted oil and stuff like this, because it should be a common pool, since it should be cooperative multiplayer anyway. So yeah, okay, I'm just going to create some global variables that are actual variables. This is going to be the first global variable that I create. I only used constants so far, so I'm not going to get creative, just name it oil, and it should start at 0, I guess, or maybe not 0, but I'm gonna say 100. These are just temporary values. I want the player to be able to place some stuff, and for this to happen, I need to assign the player some initial resources so they can afford them. And now I need to figure out some other systems, because I definitely need the UI to show the amount of resources. Right now I have this little wonky debug dev info stuff right here. I'm just going to use this to show the amount of oil for now, and Tibor is going to get started with the UI next week, so I'm going to replace that later. Okay, so I'm just going to say oil, and I'm just going to display the amount of oil that is available to the player at any one moment. This is running every tick, which is not the most optimal one, but this is temporary anyway, so I'm just going to leave it as is. So right now there's a little UI element that shows me how much oil do I have. Now, I definitely want the player to know how much it would cost to place a building, so this is already a challenge that I'm going to need to consider. Oh yeah, Flavius, thank you so much for being a mod. Yeah, and yeah, thanks. I totally suck at this whole Twitch thing, so I completely forgot about shoutouts. I think the first shoutout that I did was yesterday. I shouted out to Boogies because for some reason I think maybe we were talking about the nerds and that they are doing the Tobu Jam. And yeah, I kind of remembered, but this was a fluke. So yeah, thanks for taking care of this sort of thing, Flavius. I appreciate you a lot. Also, I'm going to check chat because I forgot about it anyway. Woke up early in the morning. That oh yeah, I already read that. I normally get woke up by kitties. Oh yeah, meowing and stuff. I'm guessing, demanding food and stuff. Sometimes they use me as a springboard. Oh yeah, and have the zoomies in early AM. Yeah, I can kind of relate to that as well. Although I'm not sure if you can see. I still don't have a proper camera setup, but let me just. There's a little gatito, actually gatita here, but I'm not going to bother her because she's in super lazy mode at this moment. But yeah, it's 3 o'clock, so she should be starting pestering me in 2 hours or something for an early dinner or snack. So we may or may not see that happen. I'm just cat sitting, but it happens regularly, essentially every second weekend. So, and she's a real nice one. Although in the beginning, I mean, we adopted her like 2 years ago. We, as in my ex and I, and she was not very friendly in the beginning, as you can imagine, because she was from a shelter, and she was. Yeah, psychologically not exactly stable, but we somehow managed to fix that, and now she's really, really nice and doesn't really bother us, not a lot anyway, but she can be demanding when it's dinner time and breakfast and stuff like this. Right. It's an instant wake-up call, as yeah, they are super big actually. Yeah. They are Maine Coons, right, Granger, if I remember correctly. They are freaking beautiful as well, as big. Oh yeah. Right, the resource bit I was doing. So I need to add an instance variable for the building family because I want all resources to have a cost. So I'm just going to say R because I prefix these rule type instance variables that are not exactly state variables, more like constants, but you can't have instance constants. So I just use instance variables. So I prefix rules like how much a certain building costs with the letter R, and I'm going to name it oil cost. And I'm going to assign a number, almost random number, to this probe object. It should cost, I don't know, 50, and or maybe, I don't know, 20. And the rig should cost 40. Why not? This is not an attempt at balancing, definitely. This is just something to try out the whole resource mechanic. Okay, so when you are placing a plan, I need to check if the player actually has enough resource to do that, to build the stuff that they are about to build. And this part happens right here, build if possible. And right now it just it doesn't actually check anything. So there's the little to do comment that I left to do validate placement. So placement is not checked, and also the resource we just introduced, of course, is also not checked. So I'm going to leave this comment here because I do want the placement stuff to be added later, but this is not super important right now. So I'm just going to check if the player has enough resources to build the building. But now I see an issue. I see a freaking issue. The problem is that if I store the cost on the object, and the object is nowhere in the game at the moment, I cannot read these variables. So this is a problem. So maybe I need to do a separate thing. But this also has an advantage. So if I go with something like a JSON config file, I have every rule in the game, every important one anyway, for balancing in a single file, and I just need to make changes in one place. So yeah, I just introduced this variable. It didn't live too long, so goodbye. This is it, and I'm going to go with the JSON file instead. Because, yeah, I need to access the cost of the buildings without any building instances on the map. So I'm going to say there should be something called buildings, and under buildings there should be one called probe, and one called rig, and it should have I guess for now just oil cost. And for the probe I think I assigned 20, and for the rig I assigned 40. So yeah, this is all right. And to use this I'm going to need to have a JSON object, and I'm going to load the contents of the JSON file into the JSON object at the beginning of the game. So I guess I can name the whole thing rules or something. Just quite generic. And I should probably name the file rules.json as well. I'm also going to make a little macro, global constant, files rules, file rules, string rules.json. So if I change my mind about the file name, I just need to edit it here, and I'm going to reference the global constant, which is acting as a macro in the code. If I need to reference it in multiple places, although I will probably only need to reference it in one place when I'm loading it at the beginning of the game. Okay, so at the beginning of the game is right here, init level, and I'm going to put the whole loading of the JSON file into the JSON object right here. So rules and parse, and file rules stores the file name of the rule set, so this should be all right. Just to be safe, I'm going to echo the contents of the JSON object. So rules, not as JSON, what is it called? To JSON, to beautified string or compact string. Okay, so yeah, to beautified string is fine. For now, I'm going to run the game and check the console and see if the rules.json contents are loaded correctly or not. No, this is not it. Where am I? Also, failed to parse JSON data. Okay, so I screwed something up. 1 second. My JSON is invalid. Why is it invalid? Has anyone spotted a validation error? Because construct does not really tell me at this point that there's an error. Usually they do. For example, if I remove the quotes from here, yeah. Why is this not valid? Oh yeah, I'm stupid. I remember now. Yeah. So I can't do this because this is expecting a JSON string. I'm an idiot. I need to load the file at first, and then after I loaded the file, I should be able to access the string. Okay, so for this I'm going to need the Ajax object, and I'm just going to do Ajax request project file, I guess, and I'm going to reference the. I'm going to use the file rules macro as a tag, but maybe I'm just going to say this file rules, not that it matters, but this is the same as requesting a project file. And I am not going to do any error handling because I'm going to be confident that the file should be readable because it's a essential part of the object, the project. So I'm just going to wait for the Ajax to finish. This is an asynchronous action, and this is essentially a wait for that asynchronous action. But as I mentioned, I'm not going to do any error handling, because if the file is not there, then this is chaos anyway, so it should be just a fatal exception, and boom, the game should crash because something is really off. So yeah, okay, now that the Ajax stuff is run, I will need to do the parsing by saying Ajax last data, I think, and now it should work. Okay, right here, there's the little JSON stuff that I just added. Okay, so this is cool. What I need to do is to use this JSON object and get the oil cost of the various buildings from here. So I'm going to add some more macros too, to be exact. So there's buildings, which should be a macro, and oil cost should also be a macro. So if I change my mind and rename this stuff, then I just need to change the value of the macro. And probe and rig are words that are already in the game, so and they already have macros, or if not that, then they should, but yeah, they are definitely in the game as animation names of the spawner object. So I'm just going to add some more words, generic ones. Buildings should be buildings, and do the same with, what was the other one? Oil cost. Boom. Right, okay, so back to the part where I am validating the building stuff. This is where I need to check if the player can afford the current building before allowing it to spawn. So this is where the spawner is picked, and this is where what's up, Poppy? She jumped down. This might be a message, but I'm just going to ignore this message for now. Maybe she just needs to take a walk around. Okay, so I need to grab the oil cost and compare. Kitty activated, yes, exactly. What's up? PewDiePie. Yeah, but she's super camera shy, by the way, so every time I try to take a picture of her, it's an impossible freaking mission. She knows. She doesn't want to be on the internet. That picture that I posted at the Nerd Discords the other day was a complete fluke. I don't know how I managed to snap that. What's up? Do you want something? Tell me. Please use human language, if possible. That would be the clearest. Okay, so I need to compare some stuff. Compare two values. I'm going to need to look up the rules and get a certain value from this JSON object. So the path should be buildings dot. This is not the clearest thing, but it works. So buildings dot spawner dot animation name should hold the current building plan that is selected, and then another dot, and after that I'm going to add the oil cost word. So this should give me the number that is in oil cost for the currently selected building plan. And if this is something that is maybe I should store this in a variable. I don't know. For now, this is fine. So if this is something that is less or equal than the current amount of oil that the player has, then I can allow the building to be built. And otherwise, I'm going to do something else. So I will also need to subtract this value from the oil variable. So I'm just going to create a local variable called cost. And I don't want to repeat myself, and this is quite ugly anyway, so I'm just going to say set value of cost to this, and right here I'm just going to reference the cost variable. Actually I can do compare variable, so it's a little clearer. So if cost is less than equal than the oil variables current value, then this is the building stuff. And otherwise, I am going to need to give some feedback to the player that you can't afford this building, but for now I'm just going to add a little log. Why can't I type? Okay, good. So this picking stuff needs to happen somewhere else because I'm also referencing the spawner object here, so I'm just going to move that right here. Okay, so right now this should be able to, I mean, this does the validation. I just need to change the value of the oil variable after a successful placement of the building plan. So I'm just going to say subtract and subtract from the oil variable, and I want to subtract the cost from it. Right. Violencia is not common here, not really. Sometimes, but yeah, it's not a bad problem. Just something that occurs from time to time. Also, I'm going to add some light to my face because it's getting a little dark. 1 second, I'm going to press some buttons to pause, but I'll be back in like 10 seconds. Okay, I am back. Poppy is still walking around and meowing a little bit, so I'm guessing that she's getting hungry, but it's way before her usual meal time, so I'm just going to wait for a bit and try to discipline her, which is a futile attempt, but yeah, I know. She's very talkative. Not violent, but talkative. I try to have conversations with her, but in her language, of course, which is not something I want to do on stream, not a lot anyway. Athena poses for pictures. She's such a diva. That's good. That's nice. Although, yeah, I mean, it's a challenge, and because of this, I appreciate the few pictures that I managed to take of Poppy a little bit more. But it would be so much easier, yeah, if she just grasped the concept of cat pictures on the internet and posed in a similar way. 17 seconds. God damn, I was slow. Sorry. Yeah, I have these roof windows, or I don't know what they're called, and yeah, I didn't want to break my neck, so I took my time. Sorry. Yeah. Flavius with the timer. Right. Okay. So where was I? Okay. Yeah, I wanted to test the whole thing. So right now, I think it should work. So I don't know why I picked up this barrel. Okay. So I built something and the oil cost went down, which is good. Let me just do that again. So if I press this, then another building popped up. These are the rigs, so these cost 40, and right now I only have 20 oil, which is correct. And if I press build again, nothing happens, but something in the console should appear. Can't afford to build rig. This is fine, I think. Created rig spawner, blah blah blah. Okay, something is wrong. So the add player spawner custom action is something that should only happen if the building was successful. So I'm going to move it right here. Because essentially how things work right now, if the player has the spawner object attached to them, which moves along with the player, and if the player manages to build something, then the spawner is detached from the player, stays in the same position, and a new spawner is added to the player. So it's a replacement spawner, essentially. And this was still happening even if the player couldn't afford the building, so now it should be fixed. Let me just try the switching part as well. So these should cost 20, so I should be able to build 3 and not more. Oh, I screwed something up. I know. I forgot to... yeah, so right now if I switch to the probe and I build it, then the new spawner does not inherit the current animation of the previous spawner, which was the probe, and resets back to the rig, which is not great, but I think I can fix that quite easily. So add player spawner is the custom action I'm calling here, and I think I should just add a parameter to this called object type. It's a little ambiguous, but yeah. And I should set the animation of the spawner to this object type parameter. So spawner set animation object type, and sorry. So when I'm calling this in two places. One that is the initialization, which is totally fine. I don't even have to do that. So if it's an invalid value, then the setting of the animation name will just not succeed and it will just stay at the first animation, which is totally fine. And although I guess it would be a little clearer if I did something like token at building CSV and get the first one. So when the game starts, the first selected building would be the one that is the first one in this string with the tokens. Okay, and when I'm replacing the spawner with a new one, I need to pass the animation name of the current spawner. Hopefully this fixes it. So if I console, so if I move around and switch around, for one thing, the probe was the first one selected and not the rig, which is good. So if I press this, it stays the same, and if I press this, it also stays the same, which is good. Okay, and now I'm out of oil, so I can't build any more buildings. Nice. Right, I need to add the to-do comment somewhere, definitely. Okay, so yeah, here, to-do user feedback. So if the building fails because there's insufficient oil, I need to inform the player, maybe play a sound, show something on the screen, blah, blah, blah. This is something that I will add later. By the way, the project has a few to-do comments. Not a lot, just a few, you know. Yeah, most of them are minor stuff, but some of them are actual features that are missing. So yeah, one thing that I will also need to do after I do this to-do list is to go through all the freaking to-do comments and do the refactoring and removal of magic numbers and stuff like this. So yeah, fun times. This is my next week, I think. Okay, so placing plans minus resource, this is fine. This is done. Canceling plans is something that I'm also considering. It should be an easy implementation. So I think I'm going to do that right now. I want the player to be able to cancel the building plan before the building actually appears. So I'm just going to close a few things. Right, so what I need to do is to look for the place where I'm doing the building stuff, and I also need to add some sort of proper time amount, because right now if you place a building plan on the ground, the building will appear in 1 second, and this should be some variable number, I think. Timer building, this is the one. This is the macro that I use. So this is where I have a freaking magic number, 1 second. So instead of this, I am going to add the time that is required for the building to appear into this new JSON config file that I just made. So oil cost should be the first key, I guess, and the second one should be time to build. No, I don't know. Maybe time interval. No, I don't know. I'm crap with this naming thing, especially on stream. So time to build should be the name, and I'm going to say the probe should be built in 3 seconds for now. These are, once again, not attempts at balancing, just for testing purposes. I'm adding these small numbers. Maybe I'm going to change this to 2, and the rig should be, I don't know, 4 or something. Boom. Okay, so I will need to create a macro for this one, just like I did for buildings and oil cost, so I don't make any typos, and I have autocomplete that is actually proper autocomplete. So, oops, string. Okay, this is done, and going back right here, I'm going to need to start the timer with the right duration. So for this, I'm going to be super lazy and just copy some stuff. So let's just check the references of the rules stuff. Oh yeah, it's right here. I'm freaking blind. Okay, so I need almost this, but instead of oil cost, I'm going to replace that with the other one, the time to build word. So yeah, and just to be safe, I want to convert this to a number, because this returns a string, but construct takes care of the whole thing. As construct is written in JavaScript, it doesn't really force you to use certain types in every situation. So, but in some situations it doesn't accept. For example, if you want an animation name to be set and you happen to name it just a number, then you need to convert this number to a string, for example. So there are some instances, but in this case it would automatically convert. But just to signify that the stuff that I read from the JSON in fact can be a string, I am going to add the float, which is essentially the same as parse float in JavaScript, I think. Okay, let's check it out. So right now the building should take, building stuff should take a different time. So if I place the probe, it should take 2 seconds. Okay, and if I build the rig, it should take 4 seconds. Good. Right, and what I need to add is to allow the player to cancel a building. Now, do I introduce another freaking key to this? And also, do I want to do something like just a short key pressed, or do I want them to hold the key just to be super sure that they in fact wanted to delete this plan? Not that it's a big burden to place another one if you accidentally delete one. I'm overthinking this. Yeah, one option would be to use this same custom action to do the deletion as well as the placement. And then I can use the same key. So if there's already a building plan in the spot that you are about to hover over or something, and you press the same key that would place a building there instead of that, it would delete the building. I don't know how intuitive this is. It doesn't sound like it's intuitive at all, so I don't know. I'm going to consult the others. So for now, I'm going to create a new keyboard shortcut, which is also not great because the player will have to deal with that. Although if we show all the keyboard shortcuts on the screen, this isn't a big issue, but also it's not great at the same time. And the actual keys that I've chosen are also probably not the best ones for the job. Never mind. I'm going to say R and F are also assigned to restart the game and full screen, so I will probably need to move those around. So I will just say R should be the one that removes the building, because right now E is the one that places a new building plan, and right next to it is R. I mean, on most keyboards, or maybe all keyboards, I guess. And also R is short for remove, so yeah. And E is not short for build, but whatever. So, okay, I'm going to create a new custom action for this on the player family. Cancel building plan will be the name of it. I'm just going to rig it right here. I am also going to add a gamepad button. Okay, I'm going to move some stuff around. So selecting the building plan should be done with the button Y for now. And building should be triggered with the left shoulder button or left shoulder trigger. I don't think I'm going to use both, so I'm just going to allow the player to press either one of them. And the removal of a building should be done with the other one. But maybe, what if I say the removal should be with the left one and placement should be allowed with the right shoulder button and shoulder trigger? I don't know. I just want an implementation to be done, so we'll probably move this around. So player cancel building plan should be called if the player presses the R key or the Y button, no, not the Y button, or the left shoulder button or trigger. Right. Also, I need to remove the keyboard shortcut that restarts the game and move it somewhere else. It's here, I think. Yeah. So F toggles full screen and R reloads the whole game, the whole project. So I'm just going to move this to N, which is quite far away. So, okay. Also, I think I want to make a new version of the project file anyway, and maybe push a new build to itch. So if anyone is watching and wants to give the game a go, it's not a game yet, but it's a work in progress, so there are some new stuff to try, then they should be able to. Okay. Right, okay, I'm just going to implement this cancellation of a building plan, and then I'm going to push a new build. So, whoops, this is OBS. Okay. So I need to get the currently overlapping building plan. I can do this in a few ways. I think I'm going to go with an actual overlap check, not just a position if overlaps with the building plan type of deal. So, okay, player overlapping another object that is a spawner, and a spawner that is not the player's spawner, so it's or a spawner that is already running the timer. Is timer running? Yeah, building. If the building timer of a spawner is running, then it's definitely something that is placed on the ground. So yeah, and there might be more than one object that is overlapping the player if they are close to each other, and the player is also somewhere in the middle between the two. So I'm going to pick the nearest one just to be safe. Pick nearest to the current position. Sorry, no, this is not the correct one. Okay, so with the spawner, I'm going to pick the nearest to the player. Player.x and player.y. Okay. So this should pick the spawner that is on the ground, that is a spawner that is active, as in it has the building timer running on it, and it's going to pick the nearest one if there are multiple ones that satisfy these conditions. And I just need to stop the timer and destroy them and replenish the resources, I guess. So spawner, stop timer, timer building. Yeah. I also need to calculate the cost once again, but I only need to reference it once, so I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to add to the oil variable whatever is right here of the spawner's animation name. Yeah, this could work, I think. Yeah, and I'm also going to remove the spawner, so I'm going to say it should be destroyed as well, not just the. So just stopping the timer. This is something that I'm usually doing if I'm destroying something. it would also destroy the timer, of course, but just to be safe, I'm also stopping the timer first. So yeah, let's check this out. Okay, I'm going to, I don't know why I keep picking up barrels. Okay, so if I press E, I place a building, and if I press R, I am removing that. So right now I have 80 oil, now I have 60, but if I press R in under the interval, I actually remove the plan, and my oil replenishes, which is good. Good. Neat. I think that's done. Canceling plans plus resource. Boom. Good. Deployment countdown. This is a UI thing. Yeah. And the other one is just also a visual stuff. Deployment, meaning that the building should appear with some flare or something. I could do a squanch, but I probably don't want to do that. I don't know. I've yet to see the models because the sketches that I've seen are borderline cartoony and realistic. So yeah, I'm not sure if I should do some really cartoony effects and tweens and stuff like this. Not yet anyway. So yeah, I'm just going to fix this, I mean add this UI that counts down so the player knows how much time they have to cancel a plan if they really want to, or when the building will actually appear. So yeah, question is, how should it look? Should it be parallel to the ground or perpendicular, possibly? Can I do a mesh on a sprite font? I don't know. I think not, because if I remember correctly, I did have some text objects in the game we made called Shortfall that were perpendicular to the ground, and so they were also in the 2.5D environment, but I'm pretty sure I used some trickery there, so I'm just going to check this out. Also, I'm going to plug my game Shortfall, not mine, it's our game with Laser Magnet Games, although Tibor did not do the graphics on that one. It used some canned ones by Graphics Kid. So yeah, let me just show you this. I am going to start the game, but I'm also going to mute the music. So this is a game that we also made for the same gem series, the 1 game a month stuff. I'm actually going to turn down the volume completely. So this was a 2.5D survivors-like or bullet heaven if you prefer. And the stuff that I'm talking about is going to appear in 9 seconds, so actually at the 20-second mark it's going to appear. I'm still hearing the freaking sound effects, even though I turned the master volume down. Is that a bug? Of course it is. Okay, so now, boom, this stuff appears, and as you can see, this text appears, which seems to be a part of the 2.5D world, so the player can get behind it. But I'm pretty sure that this is on a 2D layer, and I'm just doing some 3D to 2D position conversions or something to make it work, because I can't do this as well with the camera. So it acts as a billboard, but I don't think it's a billboard. Let me just check how this worked, because I have no idea. Okay, so blurb SF. Is this something that I use? I don't know. I will need to look up the I don't know how I named it, but I'm going to find out soon. It's not item. Zone, right, okay. So there's the zone object. Okay, it's right here. So the zone object has a little billboard attached to it, and the zone itself is just a big circle. And I'm pretty sure that somewhere in the code that is related to the zone object, I will find this text stuff, because I do spawn it dynamically, I'm pretty sure. So let's just see how it looks. So this is where the zone spawn logic is run. And somewhere here I think I'm updating a an existing text object or I'm spawning a new one. This is not it. Either zone info or help text is, I think, the one that I'm looking for. Okay, this is only two items, I mean objects. Music is getting a little dramatic. I think I might change it in a bit. Okay, let's see what this does. Zone info. Okay, so this is the stuff that appears at the bottom of the screen, definitely in a 2D layer. But also this show blurb stuff is right here. I think this is the one that is responsible for the text that appears above the little gift that is in the middle of the zone. I'm just going to play for 10 more seconds and find out if it disappeared. This game was quite fun to build and to play as well. Okay, so now it's not there. Okay, so this is the one, show blurb. Let's see what this does. So it actually dynamically spawns something on the UI blurbs layer, which I'm pretty sure is going to be a 2D one because I already spotted this layer to layer X stuff of the 3D camera object, which is the 3D to 2D positional conversion. So yeah, this is UI blurbs and it's definitely a 2D layer. So yeah. Where was I? I forgot to, I'll leave a bookmark. Yeah, this is the one. Okay. So yeah, I should probably do that because I can't do mesh distortion on a sprite font object. And because of this, I can't do text that is in the 3D world and perpendicular to the XY plane that is the ground. So yeah, there's no mesh option. For example, if I select sprite, there's this little mesh option that can be very useful, but for sprite font types, it's not implemented, and I'm pretty sure it's not implemented for normal text object types either. But just to be safe, sorry, I'm going to check that. Oh, it actually is. This is something to consider, because sprite font is a bitmap font type of deal, and text, the text object type is just a normal true type or open type or whatever proper scaling font type. And it's a bit surprising, but it does seem to have a mesh option. So if I do something like this, I don't know if it's working correctly or not. Okay, let me just remove that, because I would prefer to not use 3D to 2D shenanigans to place the text. But then again, I want the text to appear above everything, so why wouldn't I? Okay, I'm just going to do that. And I will also probably use this text object to show the name of the current building plan. And maybe this should appear above or below the player or something. We'll figure this out. Okay, so right. Maybe I should do a generic text object that is attached to the player, and I can just use that to give a bunch of information, not just related to buildings, but to anything else. So yeah, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to use the text sprite font stuff, so this object type, because it's a little more resource friendly, as this is just a bitmap. And it's not so costly to rasterize it like a proper vector font. So I am going to assign this to the player object, as in put it in a hierarchy. And the position doesn't really matter because I'm not going to move it not in the 3D world anyway, so along with the player. So I'm just going to remove all the check marks because I don't want any properties to be synchronized. The only one that I want is that it should be destroyed if the player is destroyed. Not that it's right now destroyable, but at one point it might be. So yeah. Okay, it's fine. I'm not going to bother with the positioning. And what I need to do instead, just to be safe, I'm going to give it a role, player info or something, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't have the anchor behavior at all right now. Am I using it? No, I'm just going to remove that. Okay, so I'm going to turn down the scaling to something that is smaller, and I need to do some initialization stuff. So I'm going to add some temporary text. And when I'm initializing the player, I am also placing this text to a different layer, and I think the UI layer should suffice for now. We don't really have anything on it except for the little dev info stuff that is in the top left corner. So I'm going to say the player should pick another children object or child object that is the text SF that is hierarchically attached to it, and text SF should be moved to a different layer. So move to layer, and layer UI is the one that I want to use for this. And for the ticking stuff, so every time the game updates or ticks, I just want to make sure that this text is somewhere near the player at a certain position that needs to be converted from the 3D world to the 2D one. For this, I use the layer to layer expression in the other game, shortfall, but I already used this expression in this game, I think. Although not exactly for this kind of purpose, but something similar. Yeah, the beams are actually on a 2D layer and they are 2D sprites. This is one of the biggest fake 3D lies that I've put in the game so far. So, okay, I'm just going to yoink this. And I am also going to make a new subsection to the player tick custom action that grabs the player's text object. So player pick children text SF, and yeah, I need to position this text SF, whoops, set position and something like this. So layer UI HUD is not a layer that exists in my game, so layer UI is correct, however. And instead of this billboard shenanigan, I am going to need to grab the player's position, which is on the ground, or I could pick the position of the player 3D object, which I'm not sure is picked at this part, but we'll see. So I'm going to say player ship 3D.x, player ship 3D.y, and for the Z elevation, I'm going to say something that is a magic number. So player ship Z elevation plus 50, I don't know, we'll see. And do the same for the Y coordinate. So hopefully this will work. Also, yeah, I need to pick the player ship 3D stuff. So yeah, I think I'm going to move this part to here so I don't have two picks, because the player ship 3D is also a children of the player object that is already picked in the tick custom action. So I'm just going to reuse this picking stuff right here. I'm going to add a little comment, something like update player info text, boom. Okay. Right. It looks pretty good. I mean, it's big. It's way too big. I'm going to reduce the scale, like to 20%. Okay. Right, and the contents of this text object should be really context sensitive, depending on what the player is up to. So yeah, I'm going to need to add some sort of state machine or something to the player, because it has some different capabilities. It has the capability to land and to take off, and it also has the capability to build stuff. And I don't really want the two to be available at the same time, I guess. How do I want to do that? Okay, I'm going to switch the music, because this is good, but this is also way too dramatic. So let's look for some other video game music. If anyone has any suggestions, I'm totally open. Something that is quite chill and preferably instrumental. Mirror's Edge is a good choice usually. I don't know why I have 2 instances of these playlists, but I do. The nerds went live and they already have a hype train. Oh yeah, I really need to get over there, by the way. Yeah, it's 4 past. I mean, yeah. Okay. Yeah, good point, Flavius. I think I'm going to wrap up soon, but I still need to wind down a bit, and I think I'm just going to finish this part, which shouldn't take too long. But you go ahead and say hi to the nerds, by the way, and go over there. I'm also going to join their stream soon and probably raid over there. But I really want to finish this part, so I think I'll need like 30 minutes or something to do that. Okay, yeah, I don't need the shortfall project anymore. Boom. So what I just want to do right now is to display the current cost of the building that is selected, the building plan that is selected. And I figure out the whole state machine stuff and switching between building and landing takeoff modes and stuff like this, because I haven't thought that through, so I don't want to do something that is super bad UX just so I can throw it out later. So okay, so next building plan, cancel building plan. Okay, this is fine. Next building plan is something that definitely has to update this text stuff. What I don't really like is that this is not called at the initialization. I think not at the moment anyway. Okay, so add player spawner is called, however. So this is also a good place to put this. Okay, what if I just make a custom action for the player that says update player info, and this just needs to be called once every time the game needs to update the contents of the text object that is floating above the player. Technically not floating, but looks like it's floating above the player. And so I can just call this from two places. One of the places is this, I think, be a good one. Player update player info, and the other one is when the spawner is already spawned but is switching animations, which happens right here. So after the whole switching stuff happens, I'm also going to call this. Okay, and update player info should just pick the text object. So player pick children text sf, and now I need to do some stuff to figure out what do I want to display above the player. But for now, the building mode is always on, so I'm not going to bother with any if switching and stuff like this. So I'm just going to say that I just want the cost to be displayed of the currently selected building plan, and that's it. Okay, so the cost is where was it? Oh, right here. Okay, so this is where I get the cost. Maybe I should put this in a function and use that, but for now I am happy with copying this stuff. Okay, I'm not happy, but yeah, I can manage. Yeah, so text sf set text, and it should say like this is going to be wonky, but also a good first implementation. So I just want to display the building plan's name. So build something, new line, and then the cost. Let's see. Build decor 3D rock. Okay, this is crap. Something's off. But if I start switching, no, it's still not good. Okay, I picked the wrong spawner, I think. I don't pick the spawner at all. Okay, this is the issue. So player, pick children, spawner. This should work better. Okay, so build probe for $0, which is not really correct. And build rig for $40, which is correct. And I'm pretty sure that, yeah, now it's fixed. So the problem is that I'm updating this value way too soon. Before the JSON is loaded into the JSON file is loaded into the JSON object. So this is a problem. It's a race condition type of deal, or I don't know, something like that. So something happens before something else should happen. Okay, how do I fix that? I mean, I could do this whole thing in a different place. That might not be the best way to achieve that, but I think this will do as well. So if I move the whole loading of the configuration file to the player's init action, then it should wait for the player to spawn, I think. This might break stuff. Okay, it doesn't. This is reassuring. Okay, so build rig, build probe, boom, the price is right there. Yeah, some more flash should be added with the building definitely, but this is also fine. And if the player cannot afford it, maybe it should be red or something. This is fine. Also, what did you send me, Flavius? Let me check that. I listened to this while coding. Let me grab that link. That sounds good. I'm not sure if I'm signed into Spotify in the browser that I'm using, but if Spotify is not going to screw over me, god damn it. Okay, programming music, that's good. Opening this desktop app, and I pressed open in Spotify. Good. Is this instrumental? We'll find out, I guess. Spotify is now not responding, which is good. Hi there, Poppy. What's up? Okay, now she's definitely signaling me to feed her, I think. So this is also a good trigger to end soon, I think. Okay, let me just try that. Is this something like the Mr. Robot soundtrack? Because I do listen to that while programming quite a bit. Sounds like it so far, anyway. Thanks for the tip, Flavius. Wait for me. You are so nice, but you really don't have to. Feel free to go over to the nerds because, yeah, I'm wrapping up anyway, and yeah. Okay, so UI deployment countdown. This is not something that I did, but the UI for showing the cost is there. So deployment countdown should be fairly straightforward as well. Poppy, what you doing? Climbing up to the freaking table. What's up? This usually didn't, I mean, this is not normal. Giving me the slightest signal. Some songs are similar. That's alright. That's totally fine. I mean, if it's not like the Mr. Robot soundtrack, that is totally fine too. I don't know if you can see her. Probably not because of the camera angle, but she's on top of the table at the moment. I don't want you guys to see my cluttered desk, but 1 second. Poppy, this is not good. Yeah. What's up? What you doing? You don't do this usually, that kind of thing. Table is off limits, right? Okay. So yeah, okay, I am going to quickly do the countdown UI, and deployment is fine the way it is right now. I'm just going to add the minimap markers and wrap up. Okay, so let's go. Right, I am going to need to spawn an object like this above the spawner, which will show up the current state of the timer. So I'm just going to create a new instance and just use the general role for this. I'm also going to create a role macro, although I'm not sure if I'm going to reference it anyway, but yeah. Good. And what I need to do is to turn this into a template. So essentially I don't really need the role blurb, I just need a template blurb for now. Not that it doesn't do the same thing, but okay. Oops, forgot the caps. So template blurb, and this is the thing that I want to spawn when the spawner is placed. So let me just look this part up. This is really chill Flavius, by the way. I'm going to use that for coding too. I like it. Sometimes I prefer the chiller ones, sometimes I go with the playlist that I gathered by watching Boom a lot and slowly and steadily copying all the tracks that she listens to while she's doing the crazy Unreal Engine stream, because she has a freaking good taste in music, but it's high energy DMB stuff, so it's not always my choice. But sometimes if I feel a little stressed or anxious, or maybe just low energy, I do use that playlist to get a little bump. Okay, so after I place a building plan, which happens right here, no, here, I need to create an instance of this text blurb stuff out of thin air and assign it to the spawner somehow. I can just probably, yeah, I can just add it to a family with the spawner. So let's do that. Create, whoops, no. Create object, text SF, on the layer UI as well. The X should, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but yeah, I'm just going to leave it as is because it's going to update at one point. And the template is the important part. So template blurb should be the one that I use. And by default, I think I'm going to disable its visibility so we don't see it right away because it does not have the right contents. And I'm going to set a different, I'm going to set up different custom action that updates the content of this text blurb stuff. Right. Based on something. Right. For now, I'm just going to say, what's up, Bobby? Okay, definitely dinner time soon. Okay, so I'm going to say text sf, no, spawner add child, text sf. I'm going to remove all these check marks because I'm going to position it differently. I think I'm going to destroy with parent as well, because why not? And what I need to do is to tick this, or maybe tick the spawner, I don't know, one of them. Or I don't even need to tick the spawner, I just want the spawner to tick while the timer is running on it. So spawner is running the timer building, because if it is, I should pick the children of the spawner, pick children, text sf, and at first I'm going to make it visible. No, at first I'm going to position it, set its text, and then I'm going to make it visible. So text sf, set position to something, and I'm just going to copy the layer to layer shenanigans which I used somewhere. Yep. Okay, so where was I? Here. Set position to, and instead of player ship and stuff like this, I'm going to say spawner.x, spawner.y, and spawner.z elevation plus something. I don't know, let's try it with 50, and if it looks bad, I will just change it. And also I'm going to leave a little note to do mn, which is short for magic number. I don't like using magic numbers usually. So yeah, I will just probably put it in a constant or something, this 50. Okay, so after we positioned it, I'm also going to set its contents, text sf set value. And for now, I'm not going to do anything fancy, just display the current time. So I'm going to say round dp, which is round but with a certain amount of decimals. And I'm going to say spawner.timer building, or maybe current time. Yeah, I always confuse these properties, so I'm just going to check the construct docs. So plugin and timer. No, sorry, plugin, it's a behavior. So streamer brain is setting in. Yeah, she might just want to cuddle, but I'm not sure, because she's like moving around and pushing stuff and trying to grab attention. So based on the current time, I would say that she's probably hungry. She's right here. I just mentioned her and she shows up. What a coincidence. Soon, very soon. Okay, Poppy. Okay, let me just quickly finish this. So current time is the time that has elapsed, I think. Duration is the time that I... Okay, let me read that. The time in seconds since a timer with a specific tag was started with the start timer action. This is useful for regular timers. Okay. Yeah, but for for one-off timers, I think current time is totally the same as this one. So yeah, okay, I just need to display duration minus current time, I think. We'll see. So timer, duration, and then the timer tag of timer building, and then the same, but not with duration, but current time. So this is just going to give me the time remaining from the timer, I think. And it should be rounded to, I don't know, 1 decimal point. Let's just see how it looks. And also I need to set the visibility of this to visible, because by default it was not visible. just so it's not showing up in a wrong position with some placeholder text. So let's see. I'm going to place a building here, blurb. Okay, so this is almost working, but not quite. Huh. Right. The positioning is running, so I would guess that yeah. I'm starting to make mistakes. Instead of set text, I set the value of the role instance variable. Yeah. Let's try that again. This is pretty good. I mean, the round to DP is a little wonky because if it's how do you say that? So when it's not a fractional number, then it does not add the 0.0 at the end, but that's fine for now. Okay, this is cool. I'm going to leave it as is. Minimap markers are next. So UI deployment countdown is done. Deployment I'm not going to bother with, not yet. I mean, I could add some tweens, but I will consult with the others to get some ideas first, how it should look when the building actually lands or teleports or something. So minimap markers are the only thing that needs to be done, and this is probably an easy fix as well. Then I'm going to make a new build and raid the nerds and possibly continue later while I'm lurking, but probably not, because my brain's getting a little fried. So minimap markers stuff. This object is something that gets spawned with certain objects on the minimap. So map marker sources is a family that has the objects that should spawn a minimap marker. So essentially, I think I just need to set something up that certain spawners are actually map marker sources. I don't really like this. Maybe I should show the buildings, possibly. Yeah, but I can't add the building family as a member because families are not, they don't have inheritance or something like that in construct. But this is fine, I think. So I just need to add the rig and the probe by itself. Yeah, this is easy. So probes and rigs should show up on the minimap. Now, I am also going to see the references of this object type because I do have some ifs that set up the size of the minimap marker and the color. So somewhere. Oh shit, yeah, I forgot this. Not the marker source, but the actual minimap marker I need to look up. So this one. And just go to somewhere where I set a color. And this is it. So I already mentioned that I need to add some more macros for these new building types, the probe and the rig. So I am just going to do that. Under object types, I'm going to say OT probe, which is a probe string, and do the same for rig. And I don't know where I was because I forgot to put in a bookmark again, but boom. Okay. So this is where I actually go through all the map marker sources and the object types of those. So I can just do the same thing 2 more times, one for the probe and one for the rig. I just need to change OT player to probe, and in this instance to rig. And I need to figure out some color and some size, but I think this is all right. The player is 6 by 6. I mean, these are circles, so a radius of 3, I guess, but this is fine. I think I want the buildings to be quite big, so I think I'm going to leave the size at the same, and I'm just going to add some random colors. So right now RGB, and these are on a 100 scale, so the barrel shows up in yellow, the enemy shows up in red, of course, classic, and the player shows up in light blue. So for the probe, I'm going to choose a green color, I guess, or maybe a rig, I don't know. So yeah, no, for the probe, I'm going to go with No, this is purple. Sorry, the player is purple. So for the probe, I'm going to say light blue, I guess. It should be something like this. And for the rig, let's go with green. Oops. These are temporary anyway, so I don't know why I opened up the console. Okay, so let's check the minimap. I'm going to build a probe. It does not show up, not yet anyway. And building a rig also shouldn't do anything, seemingly. Okay, so what did I miss? Because the probe and the rig is a member of the map marker sources family. So once it's spawned, I would say that they should spawn a minimap marker. But yeah, the problem is that yeah, the initialization of all the creation of all the minimap markers only happens once at the beginning of the level, and this is something that happens later. So this is the problem. So this I need to factor out to a different you little hungry dude. 5 minutes, Bobby, right? Okay, create object. Yeah. For UI minimap markers, I need to add like a spawn custom action. I already have a tick custom action, so I'm just going to create one that spawns one UI minimap marker spawn, and I'm going to move all of this to here, and also all of this. And to spawn the stuff, I am going to need to yeah, map marker sources, yes. One thing I could do is to copy the picking, so this should work. I don't really do that, but in this instance, I think this is acceptable. So UI minimap marker spawn, if it's called, now everything should work as before. Yes, this is all right. So all the minimap markers are actually there. But I also need to call this when I add a new building. And for this, I think I just need to create a building init custom action. Sure. Do we already have a building action sheet? No. So a building, and I'm going to look quickly for a little emoji. Whatever is fine. Let's go with something industrial if possible. I don't know why the freaking emoji keyboard is expecting Hungarian words for the lookup to work, because on my other PC, which is also set to English, the whole operating system and everything else, it's accepting the English ones, Windows, whatever. So custom building, no, I mean custom action for the building. And I'm going to say building init, and with the building, I am going to need to do a little extra picking stuff. So minimap, no, what is the source stuff? Map marker sources, pick by UID, and say building.uid. And I just need to call the minimap marker spawn custom action, I think. And for this to work, of course, I need to put it in the eCreated event sheet. So every time a building is created, the init function should be run. Let's see. So placing building now. Okay, it's definitely a little extra purple dot, which is good. I'm going to build the other one. It should be a different color, but the same size. Okay, this is cool. I don't know if I want to show the building in progress on the minimap. For now, I'm not going to do that, but maybe I will do like a non-filled circle, just one that has borders. But this is all right, I think. Okay, I am going to wrap up and trade the nerds because I am a bit tired. So build 13 is going to be the one that will be up on itch in a few minutes. So if anyone was watching and still is watching and wants to give the current build a try, just to see how it works, it's definitely possible. So I am going to update the build on itch. Was this the one? Yes. Okay. I'm going to run my little script that calls the official itch CLI called Butler and moves the project to its rightful place, which is for now this 40.itch.io/streamgame URL. So boom. If anyone wants to try the game, the new build should be up right about now. And I would also like to thank everyone who's watching and possibly anyone who's watching the VOD on YouTube, because this will be up on YouTube in a few days, definitely. And I'll be probably back streaming either tomorrow, but I may or may not work on this project because I am also considering doing the Tobu Jam. So yeah, I will need to figure this out tomorrow morning if I really want to do that, but I already have an idea for it, so I will probably attempt make a game that is super simple. So yeah, Flavius, thank you so much for the raid message. Let's go to the nerds, because yeah, my brain is fried, the build is up, everything is done. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks everyone who watched either the stream or the VOD. I'll be back soon, probably tomorrow, and I'm definitely going to stream more on next week, but I don't have the schedule yet, so sorry about that. If anyone is interested, we do have a Discord server, which is a good place to go if you want to receive updates about any streams and game updates that we make. So yeah, this is the place to go if you don't want to miss the future streams. So thanks again for everyone who was watching, and I'm going to set up the raid and go over to the two nerdy nerds who had a little break because they released a new game on Steam, which is doing freaking good, I would say. All positive reviews and stuff. It's called Super Cat Cafe, and it's a super fun sandwich stacking game with cats and other shenanigans. So I'm just going to go over there because I think they are working on a game for the Tobu Jam as well. So come say hi, and thanks again for watching. Bye bye now.